would have turned Marxism-Leninism on its head and fundamentally changed both his country and the international system in an attempt to reverse a decline which did not pose an immediate threat either to the Soviet system or to him. The late Russian scholar Dmitry Furman framed Gorbachev's uniqueness more broadly. He was the only politician in Russian history who, having full power in his hands, voluntarily opted to limit it and even risk losing it in the name of principled moral values. For Gorbachev to have resorted to force and violence to hold on to power would have been a defeat. In the light of Gorbachev's principles, Furman continued, his final defeat was a victory, although one must add it certainly didn't feel that way to Gorbachev at the time. How did Gorbachev become Gorbachev? How did a peasant boy whose high-flown tribute to Stalin won a high school prize turn into the Soviet system's gravedigger? God alone knows, lamented Gorbachev's longtime prime minister Nikolai Ryzhkov, who eventually turned against him. One of Gorbachev's close aides, Andrei Grachev, called him a genetic error of the system. Gorbachev described himself as a product of that system and its anti-product. But how did he turn out to be both? How did he become Communist Party boss despite the most rigorous imaginable arrangement of checks and guarantees designed to guard against someone like him? How, asked Grachev, did a not entirely normal country end up with a leader with normal moral reflexes and common sense? An American psychiatrist who profiled foreign leaders for the Central Intelligence Agency remained mystified as to how such a rigid system could produce such an innovative and creative leader. What changes did Gorbachev seek for his country when he took power in 1985? Did he favor merely moderate economic reforms, as he said at the time, only to be radicalized by their lack of results? Or did he seek from the start to liquidate totalitarianism, concealing his aim because it was anathema to the Politburo members who selected him? What inspired him in the end to try to transform communism in the USSR? What made him think he could transform a dictatorship into a democracy, a command economy into a market economy, a super-centralized unitary state into a genuine Soviet federation, and a Cold War into a new world order based on the renunciation of force, all at the same time, and by what he called evolutionary means? What possessed him to think he could overcome Russian political, economic, and social patterns dating back centuries in a few short years? Tsarist authoritarianism morphing into Soviet totalitarianism, long stretches of near slavish obedience to authority, punctuated by occasional bursts of bloody rebellion, minimal experience with civic activity, including compromise and consensus, no tradition of democratic self-organization, no real rule of law. As Gorbachev himself would later say of the Russian mindset that thwarted him, our Russian mentality required that the new life be served up on a silver platter immediately, then and there, without reforming society. Did Gorbachev have a plan? What was his strategy for transforming his country and the world? He didn't have either, critics claim, but no one did, admirers reply. No one could have had a blueprint for transforming his country and the world simultaneously. Whether or not Gorbachev was a master strategist, wasn't he a brilliant tactician? How else could he have gotten a Politburo majority opposed to his most radical reforms to approve them? Was he nonetheless insufficiently decisive and consistent, as one of his closest aides, Georgy Shakhnazarov, said? How could he have been when the risk